Hello and welcome to Saturday's Birmingham News Weekend magazine. We've got a new look. It's our relaxed look around Birmingham and the West Midlands. So coming up on today's show, well, we'll kick off with a look back at this week in the wide world of sport. I'll be seeing what's up on the community notice board. Steve and Jason will join us with some more interesting guests, and Carl will have the film news. We'll be picking a letter in our A to Z of the West Midlands, and Des and Gary will take a look at what's on this week. We'll be experiencing a touch of the arts in today's show, and Norman Bartlam then will tell us what's so special about this month. So it's all within those pages of the Weekend magazine. Welcome back. Still to come later in the show, we'll be choosing a letter in our A to Z of the West Midlands. Plus we'll have a look at what's on across our area. Now, you may have heard the BBC is making a film about Laurel Hardy's British tour in the early 1950s, with our own Steve Coogan and American actor John C. Reilly as the famous funsters. But what really happened when they arrived in Birmingham? Well, Steve Green talked to Laurel Hardy enthusiast John Ullah about their Midlands madcapery.
John, we were talking last time about Laughing Gravy and the fact that you are the biggest monthly gathering of Laurel Hardy fans in the UK and you're pretty sure in the entire world.
Yeah, I am.
But a lot of people don't realise that the boys had a real connection with Birmingham. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, there's quite a few connections with Birmingham. The first one is Stan Laurel's father, we believe, was born here in Birmingham. His birth certificate doesn't exist. So, but all the records, the census records, show he was born here in Birmingham. So Stan Laurel's father's a Brummie. Isn't that a great thing to say?
It is.
And also, of course, Stan Laurel's Auntie Mary, and not the one who had a canary, but is actually born in Birmingham, baptised in St Martin's Church in the Bullring, and she's actually buried in our local church in Erdington. So that's the main Birmingham.
So he had strong
connection.
family roots.
Yeah, here in Birmingham. Of course, we mentioned briefly Charlie Hall was born on the Washwood Heath Road.
Who'd starred in 50 films.
He made 50 films, were born in Birmingham. But the boys came to Birmingham on numerous occasions. The first time in 1932. And there were 10,000 people on New Street.
I'm sure a lot of people don't realise that they were over here then, but 10,000
10,000 people at New Street, and they stayed at an old hotel in Birmingham called the Queen's Hotel, which is a really large hotel, 6 stories high, right at the back of New Street. They stayed a night there. They appeared at the Gorman Cinema. Some people remember the Gorman Cinema.
I remember it very well, up by the Birmingham Post and Mail building. And
an old place called the West End Cinema and Dance Hall. People who've got longer memories will remember that fabulous place. Again, demolished around about the 60s. So the first time was 1932. They came back for their first tour of the UK in 1947, and they appeared at the Birmingham Hippodrome. The year they chose, 1947, is infamous for one thing. Most people say, when you mention 1947, they mention one thing, the winter of 47. Now, one of our members actually went to see Laurel Hardy at the Hippodrome, Birmingham Hippodrome in 1947. So he told us exactly what it was like.
Freezing cold.
Freezing cold. You're queuing up to get the unreserved seats at the back, paying, I think it was 6p to get the unreserved seats at the back. And he met Stan Laurel. He waited afterwards and he met Stan Laurel. Then they came back in 1952, a week at the Birmingham Hippodrome, 1953, another week at the Birmingham Hippodrome, and the last ever tour of the UK in the Aston Hippodrome in 1954, May 1954, and they stayed at the wonderful Barton's Arms pub, which is just across the road from the Aston.
As I say, you do tours now at the Barton's Arms, where you touch upon the many people famous people who stayed there, including, of course, Marie Lloyd and Enrico Caruso and,
fabulous,
and Charlie Chaplin popped in there.
Well, they say Charlie Chaplin stayed. We don't know if he did or not. There's no records to say he stayed in there. Right? We know Laurel Hardy.
But the boys definitely stayed there.
The boys stayed there.
I mean, the thing about staying behind to meet fans is, they were very much attuned to keeping in touch with their fan base. I know that even in his later years, Stan used to personally answer letters that were sent to him, which is a wonderful thing to think of.
That's absolutely correct. So, Stan's phone number was in the directory.
That's that late 1954 tour.
Yeah,
that's the one that's currently 53. 53. That's the one that's currently being turned into a TV movie.
Yeah, the biopic, the BBC biopic of their last tour, 53 and 54.
It's kind of a pity they're picking that particular tour.
I hope they don't make it sad, because these two guys were never sad. They were two fantastic people who always had time for everyone, they had time for each other. So the 53-54, their last UK tour, Oliver Hardy became ill, so I suppose it's a bit more dramatic to show that. But their last weekly performance anywhere in the world was at the Aston Hippodrome. They'd done one more night, I think it was down in Plymouth, when Oliver Hardy became ill, so they had to cancel their tour. It's a shame we haven't kept the Aston Hippodrome. Wouldn't it be great if we could still go there now?
But at least the Dudley Hippodrome,
the Dudley Hippodrome's still going.
There.
Yeah, which is great. They played the Dudley Hippodrome twice. They stayed in a bungalow, I believe. I met somebody who said they put Laurel Hardy up in 1952 and they played the Dudley Hippodrome.
Funny enough, my colleague Lee Bannister's grandmother was an usherette at the Dudley Hippodrome back in those days, and my colleague Chrissie Harper here on the camera, Dad went along to see them at the Dudley Hippodrome. So there's a lot of people with a strong memory of their appearances here.
I've met a few people who met them at the Dudley, and I've got photographs of them at the back. Inside the Dudley Hippodrome. So it's a very important place, and I'm so pleased that the Friends of Dudley Hippodrome have managed to save it. I think it's got asbestos in there. It's going to take a lot of work to have it reef, but it will be worth it in the end.
It certainly will.
It's a beautiful building.
I mean, obviously, preserving the past is very important, and particularly when the past is so worth preserving.
It is, yeah.
John, thanks again.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you very much.
And next week, Steve will be checking out a mecca for the Midlands musicians, which counts Ozzy Osbourne and the Pussycat Dolls amongst the many who've given it a spin. So then it's time to close the pages of the Birmingham News Weekend Magazine for Saturday. Now I'll be back tomorrow night at 6 with more from the Weekend Magazine, and then I'll see you bright and early on Monday morning at 7 for the Birmingham News Review. Plus, of course, you can keep up to date with more news for Birmingham and the West Midlands every weekday at 6 and 8 in the evening. So that's it for now. Stay tuned, the weather's up next, and then after the break we'll be seeing what George and Taffy have been up to this week on The Lowdown. Thanks for watching. From me, for now, ta-ra a bit.